Hey everyone, welcome back to another Mattel Jurassic World review. Today we're taking a look at the new Primal attack, Ornitholestes. This figure is part of the Attack Pack assortment, and it's currently being found at Target, and it's also available for pre-order on Amazon. This dinosaur is one of the first Primal attacks to be found on store shelves, and since Primal Attack is a new series, we get new packaging. So let's go over the packaging quick before we crack open this dinosaur. You got the nice sunset in the background. With the paddock fences, you got some nice silhouettes of vegetation along the side. You still got your Jurassic World logo. You still got Owen and Blue, like they're the only two characters in the franchise. And spinning it around, you get a picture of the other figures. In the wave, you got the Ornitholestes, the Ornitholestes, Callovosaurus, and Draco Rex. There are 8 figures in an Attack Pack case, and these figures are 2 per case, which is really good. I hate it when there's a new figure and it's only 1 per case, so having 2 per case is really great. So enough about the packaging. Let's crack open this really cool figure and take a closer look. And here's the Ornitholestes on the packaging, and I have to say I'm actually surprised to see this dinosaur in a Jurassic World toy line. Ornitholestes is kind of an obscure dinosaur, but I gotta say Mattel has been pumping out some obscure dinosaur species lately in the line, and I absolutely love it. It's just very refreshing to see lesser known dinosaurs in the line. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And on top of that, Ornitholestes is part of the franchise. This animal is mentioned in the Lost World novel. I think the body washed up on shore in Costa Rica somewhere, and then the military came and destroyed it to hide the evidence of the dinosaurs on the island. So this animal is in the Jurassic Park canon. So before we take a closer look at this figure, let's do a couple of quick measurements. This figure is 6.5 inches long from the tip of the tail to the snout, and about 3.5 inches tall to the top of the head right there. Ornitholestes was not a big dinosaur, it was about 6.5 feet long. So with those measurements, that put this figure roughly in the 1/12 scale range. Moving on to the coloration, I really like the paint apps on this figure. Sometimes the dinosaurs in the Mattel line are kind of lacking with paint scheme. We kind of had this trend of like two-toned animals, just the color plastic and like one color app on the figure. And I gotta say, this Ornitholestes has 3 paint apps on it, which is really impressive, especially for an Attack Pack. The main body is this dark chocolate brown color. You got this nice orange stripe along the side of the head right here, and then you got this light yellow, almost kind of like an off-white blotches, going all the way down the top of the head, down the back, along the side of the legs, and then stop it, and then continue on the tip of the tail, and then spinning it over, you have some nice cream color for the stomach. So a very, very nicely painted Mattel Jurassic World figure. So let's pull this in closer and take a closer look at the head. You can see the eye is painted green with a black pupil, and you get a better look at that orange stripe along the side of the head right here. You got the nostril, a little bit of shrink wrapping, which is pretty typical of any Jurassic Park style dinosaur. You can see the inorbital fenestra pretty clearly. The teeth are painted in a yellow color, and inside the mouth, the tongue is painted pink, and you can see more of that nice paint apps all along the neck right here, and even underneath the throat. All that white is very nicely applied. Moving down to the hands, there are no paint on the claws. It's something I always complain about in every Mattel Jurassic World review. Like a majority of the figures, the hand claws aren't painted. I really wish they were. And moving down to those very big oversized feet, which do help greatly with stability. The toe claws aren't painted. And since we're at the feet, let me just shine a light on it. Here is the scan app code. And then going down to the tail, you can see more of that speckling done in that off-white color. Very, very nicely applied paint apps on this figure. Really, really like it. You got a lot of nice scale texture along the legs, folds and wrinkles along the side. A very, very nicely sculpted figure. Now, if you're familiar with Ornitholestes, back in the day, it was reconstructed with a nasal horn right here, and the reason for that was Ornitholestes is only known from like one incomplete skeleton, and the skull was badly crushed, but the top bone right here, I think it was the external nares, was missing, and there was a bone projecting out, which led some paleontologists to think that it actually had a nasal crest, but that's just from the distortion of the bones being crushed. It really didn't have a nasal horn, so this Mattel Ornitholestes is reconstructed without the nasal horn, which is correct. Articulation on this figure is actually pretty good for an attack pack. You have jaw articulation right here, and you actually have neck articulation, and you really don't see that on a lot of attack packs. So the head can move all the way up and all the way down, which is pretty cool. And then you can move the arms up and down. The legs can rotate 300, well, almost 360 degrees before they smack into the arms. And then moving down to the tail can rotate. I kind of wish it had the same articulation that the Callovosaurus had, where it just had that hinge right here and the tail could swing back and forth, because rotation like this is kind of just pointless on a figure like this. I would prefer the side-to-side motion. So let's move on with some comparisons. Here it is with one of the human figures, John Hammond. And like I said earlier, Ornitholestes was not a big dinosaur. It was about 6.5 feet long. Unfortunately, this figure is way too big to scale with the human figures. If this figure was scaled to the human figures, it would only come up to just about John's waist right here. So obviously, this Ornitholestes is pretty much, Jurassic Park raptor size. And here it is with its wave mate, the Callovosaurus. And here it is compared with one of the Jurassic World raptors. And like I said, it's pretty much almost raptor size. And lastly, here it is with the Primal Attack Extreme Chomping Tyrannosaurus Rex. Seeing these two figures together, you really notice a difference. And, I think this little $8 figure has much better paint apps than this $25 T-Rex. I do like the paint scheme on this, but I just think the paint detail and paint apps on this are just much better looking with this larger figure. So final thoughts on this figure. I really like this Ornitholestes. I love the paint apps on it. I think it's one of the nicest paint apps I've seen on pretty much any attack pack figure. Definitely a very obscure dinosaur to see in the Jurassic World line. I like the sculpt on it. I like the paint detail. Yeah, it's a little bit big to scale with the rest of the line, but unfortunately that's the problem we're going to run into if Mattel keeps deciding to make these smaller dinosaurs to come out in the attack pack line. They got to be a certain size, and they're just not going to scale well with everything else. I mean, they could, if they actually want to keep producing more human figures, because you can just barely find human figures in stores, to maybe produce, some smaller dinosaurs to come with those figures, but they wouldn't be painted as nicely, and they wouldn't have that articulation, like the little Dimorphodon that we got with some of the mercenaries and stuff like that. But so I'm okay with some of these smaller dinosaurs being upscaled for the line. I still think they look really good next to everything else. And like I said at the beginning of the video, this figure is being randomly found at Targets across the country. When I went looking for these, they only had a couple of the repaint Draco Rex on the shelves. So I nicely asked an employee if they had any more attack packs in the back. They came out, they had the Ornitholestes and the Callovosaurus. So if you shop around Target, you don't see any attack packs, just, walk up to an employee, ask very nicely, maybe you'll get lucky and they'll have some in the back for you. And also, this figure is up for pre-order on Amazon. I'll leave the link in the description. I think it's supposed to be shipping somewhere around the beginning to the middle of December. So anyways, I do really highly recommend this figure. I do like it a lot. It's currently in my top 5 attack packs. So that will do it for the review. As always, if you're liking the reviews on this channel, please show your support by hitting that subscription button right underneath the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously, and it's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.